In the ancient Igbo kingdom of Umokoro, Izudo ruled with immense wealth, power, and many wives, yet his palace echoed the days when his crown was only a dream. Yet because she had never given birth, palace servants whispered that her star had faded, and slowly, King Izudo's attention drifted to his younger wives. Adana walked the quiet corners of the palace alone, her footsteps soft of gold and crimson. King Izudo summoned his loyal advisor, Okoye, a strong and disciplined warrior whose loyalty to the throne was unwavering. Speaking with a troubled voice, the king said, "A kingdom without an heir is like a river without water. Answer, I must hear it." Okoye bowed deeply, understanding the weight of the journey and the danger it might hold, and prepared himself to guide the king through the mysterious paths of the forest where ancient spirits whispered secrets older than the hills. At dawn, King Izudo and Okoye rode deep into the thick forest, where ancient trees blocked kingdoms. Villagers said he could see what others could not and speak with spirits older than the hills. When the king entered the smoky hut, the Dibia's eyes glowed like dying firewood. He listened silently as the king explained his sorrow and desperate desire for a son. Slowly, a smile curved the herbalist's lips, a smile not of kindness, but of knowing the price of desperation. "Great king," he said, "the spirits can open the door to a child, but every door has its shadow." From a clay pot he removed a dark potion wrapped in leaves. "Give this to the wife whose heart is most loyal to you. If the spirits are pleased, she will bear a son." When the king returned to the palace, the younger wives expected the potion to be given to one of them, for they believed the king had already forgotten Queen Adana. But that night, as the moon climbed high above the courtyard, King Izudo quietly walked to Adana's chamber. He found her sitting alone, weaving a cloth while humming an old song from her childhood village. The king watched her and remembered the years she had stood beside him before the throne, before the palace, before the crown. Something inside him softened. Without telling the other wives, he handed her the potion from the herbalist and said, "Drink this. The spirits may finally bless this kingdom." Adana accepted it with trembling hands, not out of ambition, but out of faith. Months passed, and the palace woke one morning to shocking news: Queen Adana was with child. The women who once mocked her now watched her with silent jealousy, while the villagers celebrated as if rain had finally returned after a long drought. King Izudo's joy filled the kingdom, yet strange things began to happen. At night, the wind around the palace carried whispers that sounded like distant laughter, and the king often dreamed of the herbalist standing beside a river of shadows. Okoye, ever vigilant, could not ignore the signs. One night, he secretly traveled back to the forest to confront Dibia Nwankwo. The herbalist only laughed when he saw him. "The king wanted a son," the Dibia said calmly. "The spirits will give him one. But remember this, advisor, destiny does not like pride. When the child is born, the kingdom will learn a lesson no crown can escape." The day of birth arrived with thunder rolling across the sky. Inside the palace, Queen Adana cried out in labor while the entire kingdom waited outside the gates. At last, a child's cry rose into the air, a strong, healthy boy. The royal drums exploded with celebration. King Izudo lifted the child before the people and declared him the future ruler of Umokoro. But in that moment, a sudden wind swept through the courtyard, knocking the royal crown from his head. It rolled across the ground and stopped at Queen Adana's feet. The crowd fell silent. The king looked at the woman he had once neglected and finally understood a truth that pride had hidden from him for years. The heir he had searched for through power, wealth, and dangerous magic had come through the very person he had almost forgotten. That night, King Izudo sat beside Queen Adana and their newborn son, reflecting on the long road that had led to this moment. He remembered how pride had made him look everywhere for answers except where loyalty had always stood. When Okoye told him about the herbalist's warning, the king understood the deeper message of the spirits. The danger had never truly been the potion or the forest, it had been his own blindness. From that day forward, he honored Adana as the pillar of the palace and raised his son with a lesson greater than power. And the elders of Umokoro would later tell the story to their children, saying, "A proud man may search the whole forest for treasure while stepping over gold in his own house." For in the end, the rejected stone had truly become the cornerstone of the kingdom. In the ancient Igbo kingdom of Umokoro, King Izudo ruled with immense wealth, power, and many wives, yet his palace echoed with a painful silence. He had no son to inherit his throne. Year after year, the drums of celebration played in the villages for families welcoming children, but inside the royal compound, the king's heart grew heavier. His wives tried herbs, prayers, and sacrifices, but no child came, and the echo of emptiness stretched across the palace halls like an endless shadow. Among his wives was Queen Adana, the king's first wife, a gentle and steadfast woman who had stood beside him since the days when his crown was only a dream. Yet because she had never given birth, palace servants whispered that her star had faded, and slowly, King Izudo's attention drifted to his younger wives. Adana walked the quiet corners of the palace alone, her footsteps soft against the clay floor, her eyes carrying the weight of years of neglect and quiet longing. She was dignified and loyal, yet her presence was almost invisible, a patient river flowing unnoticed beneath the grandeur of the palace. One evening, as the red sun sank behind the palm trees, painting the courtyard in shades of gold and crimson, King Izudo summoned his loyal advisor, Okoye, a strong and disciplined warrior whose loyalty to the throne was unwavering. Speaking with a troubled voice, the king said, "A kingdom without an heir is like a river without water. Tomorrow, take me to the greatest herbalist in the forest. If the spirits hold an answer, I must hear it." Okoye bowed deeply, understanding the weight of the journey and the danger it might hold, and prepared himself to guide the king through the mysterious paths of the forest.